Talking about people like us now, we can't compete with them.
That's part of what's called the second phase, part of the public phase. You have to get over interested.
You are gonna get the word out, and then, so they don't want opportunities to help out. Great.
Good afternoon. The clock on the wall says it's 1 o'clock, so we will come to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. We just had a really tragic week in our nation. And I think because of what happened to us a couple of years ago, we're just that much more easily heartbroken when we hear about the tragedies that have occurred. Our friends and fellow citizens in Boston, and then additional heartbreak for the Newtown parents and their defeat in Washington, and the Texas issue. And so I'd just like to start with just a moment of silence for each of us to think about all the people that have been affected by these tragedies, and remind ourselves of our responsibilities as their fellow citizens. If you will, please. Thank you. There's been a lot of discussion this week around the issue of the international mission, and Dr. Speck has asked that we start today's meeting with trying to do some clarification and information sharing, and so I'm going to turn the floor over to him before we proceed with the official agenda and ask him to give a statement, please.
Thank you, Dr. McKim. Good afternoon, everyone. Recently, Senate Bill 67, sponsored by Senator David Pierce of Warrensburg, has attracted attention regarding a component of our university mission. So I want to take a few moments to address the proposed changes noted in that bill, and to discuss why I believe this will be good for our university. Last October, members of our administration traveled to Raleigh to provide testimony for Missouri Southern regarding formula funding. There we met Senator Pierce, who is chair of the committee collecting testimony about formula funding. I invited Senator Pierce to come to campus because of his role as chair of the Senate Education Committee and chair of the Joint Committee on Education. Senator Pierce accepted. He came to our campus in December to meet with the President's Council in order to learn more about Missouri Southern and to discuss his vision for higher education. During this meeting, he noted that he was sponsoring a cleanup bill for higher education and wanted to know if we had any language we thought should be changed regarding MSSU. For some time, I had been concerned with the limitations that accompany a university's mission being inscribed in legislation. In fact, I had previously spoken with Senator Ron Richard about this concern. Through this meeting with Senator Pierce and additional conversations with Senator Richard, we learned that for nearly 2 decades, only 5 out of the 13 Missouri state colleges and universities have their missions tied to state legislation. Instead, the normal procedure is to have missions in the rules of the Coordinating Board for Higher Education. Having missions stated in the rules of the Coordinating Board for Higher Education, rather than in statute, provides the university with more flexibility for future direction, because changes do not require legislative approval. We don't know how the world will continue to change and what our students will need decades from now. I believe part of the confusion around this issue centers on how to define the role of international in our mission. Our mission is clearly stated within our strategic plan and defines Missouri Southern as a, quote, state-supported, comprehensive university offering programs leading to undergraduate and graduate degrees. Central to our mission is a strong commitment to international education, liberal arts, professional and pre-professional programs, and the complementary relationship that must exist among them to prepare individuals for success in careers and lifelong learning. This language was developed and approved through the strategic planning process that included broad participation by constituents from across campus. Our mission cannot be confined or defined by the term international. International is, however, an important component of our mission. What we have done to internationalize the campus for students is commendable. Our theme semester every fall is extraordinary, particularly because no other institution in the nation has such a program. I have no intention of eliminating the international component of our mission. I support it. On a personal note, my wife and I have encouraged all 3 of our children to engage in international travel, and we have funded much of that travel. Our son's undergraduate degree is in international studies, and his overseas experiences have expanded the knowledge he gained in that program. Both our daughters taught in Saudi Arabia, and we were excited they could have that experience. The important thing to note is that a change in statute will not change our mission. If we were to change our mission, I would facilitate a campus-wide discussion, because that would truly have the potential to impact the direction of the university. Allow me to clarify a few more things. The removal of the particular language in statute will not affect funding. It will not change our status as a statewide university, and will have no impact on the day-to-day operation of the university. Students will continue to have the opportunity to study abroad, engage in the theme semesters, and interact on campus with students from other parts of the world. I have talked with Commissioner David Russell, and MSSU will work with the Department of Higher Education to have our current mission stated in CBHE rules, where it ought to be. Let me reiterate that we are not abandoning the international component of our mission. Providing students with insights into the world is a critical part of higher education, and we will continue to prepare our students for success in careers and in lifelong learning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The board recognizes that we need further communications and information sharing about this issue. One of the things that I think is critical right now is that we all try to differentiate between what Dr. Speck has requested of the legislature and the fact that there are no changes to the university's mission. And I'm asking the help of the media and everyone on campus to help with that issue. So, thank you.
Thank you.
There will be further discussion. Okay, let's move on to today's agenda. I think board members, are there any announcements? I think board members have had a chance to review the minutes from the March meeting.
Move to approve.
Mr. Anderson has moved that they be approved. Mr. Fleischaker seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ms. Ice, our treasurer, is absent today, so Mr. Eust has the honor of filling in for her.
Thank you. Bear with me. It's been quite a few years since I did this report, but we'll wing it here and see what happens.
It's like riding a bicycle.
Yeah, I guess, whatever. The first graph is the cash graph. If you look at that, it reflects an increase in our cash of approximately $562,000. We are a little bit behind the FY11 cash, but we're ahead of last year's. With that, if we turn to the statement of net assets, our total net assets are $126 million. Liabilities are $30 million, with net assets at $96 million. In comparison to the previous month and the previous year, the main difference here is that we had a bond payment this last month. Total bond payment was $906,000, of which $325,000 worth of principal is reflected on this statement. Any questions on this statement? Not that I could answer them. I'll defer to Linda.
That's scary.
I'm just kidding. The next statement is a comparison to budget. This is one of the 3 times during the course of the year that we present this statement, so there's not a whole lot of information that you can glean off this. The main information is on the following statement, which is the comparison to budget or comparison to the previous year, and our explanations for those. Our operating revenues are down $785,000 in comparison to last year at this time. Our operating expenses are up $409,000. Our non-operating revenues are also up $618,000, which gives us a decrease in net assets of approximately $592,000 in comparison to the previous year. We've given you some explanation for some of the major variances at the bottom of the page, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Okay, then I need a motion to accept the financial statements as presented. Mr. Ewing has moved to do so. Mr. Fleischaker seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And we'll move right on then to your official report as the Vice President of Business Affairs.
All right, we have just a couple of construction projects to give you an update on. The Mansion Annex renovation project is complete. We have a small thing that needs to be done I believe next couple of weeks on a wall that's a Cassie thing. I don't even know how to explain that thing, but anyway, it's a wall. Anyway, other than that, yeah, don't even ask, it's just an odd little wall. Other than that, it's done. Our IT and physical plant staff did a great job. If you have a chance to go over and look at those digs, it's really nice. The second project that we are getting ready to embark on is the Lion Icon Plaza, which will house our Lion Icon, which I mentioned to you last month. That project went out to bid. R.E. Smith Construction was the successful low bidder on that, and they should be starting on that project within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
We have groundbreaking for that on
Sometime.
I know the date. Cassie, I forgot the date.
Groundbreaking.
May 2nd.
May
Thank you.
It's in the report, actually.
Okay, I should well, I got ahead. I'm good at that.
And the last thing, I wanted to let everybody know that if you're on campus, you had some issues with your phone, you still have issues with your phone. The storm took out our phone system a couple days ago. Our IT staff has been working very diligently on getting those fixed. And I really thank Al and his crew. They did a great job, and they're continuing to do a great job going around to every phone now and check them all and identify them. It's a long process, but we'll get back.
Any questions? Thank you. Move on to Mr. Rugerman, report as athletic director.
Thank you. You do have in your packet the athletic team reports. Just a few things of note regarding that. Baseball currently sits in 4th place, and softball is hosting tonight. We have a game here on campus, and part of that is that it's all athlete night, so you'll see a couple of hundred athletes running around there eating hot dogs. Regarding golf, is actually this next week we'll be at the MIAA conference tournament. And then football concluded on Saturday with their spring practice game, green gold game. There were 2 separate gatherings also regarding Brandon Williams related to the draft, a pre-draft party on April 24th at Granny Schaefer's. Actually behind Granny Schaefer's they have a kind of convention room. And then also there's a watch party at Casano's on April 26th. There's a complete schedule of activities. You can take a look at that. As far as other issues, the MIAA has conference meetings taking place June 6th and 7th in Kansas City. The committees that will be meeting will be Championships Committee, the Athletic Administration Committee, the Institutional Representative Committee, and the CEO Council. In addition, on that Thursday evening, Warren Turner will be inducted into the MIAA Hall of Fame. Coach Turner coached here at Southern from 1977 to 2007 as the all-time wins leader in the history of MSSU baseball with 852 wins. He was in several College World Series in Division II and NAIA. Turner is the 4th individual inducted into the MIAA Hall of Fame from Missouri Southern. So he joins Rod Smith, Sally Beard, Pat LaPira. Shout out. And the 1992 MSSU Softball Division II National Championship. Regarding, every time we have this meeting, I do give you a report on the 2 NCAA items we have going on. One is the ISSG. President Speck on Thursday did review that and signed off on the copy of that. So we will be able to submit that anytime here in the next week. That does also tie in with the NCAA Compliance Blueprint. The NCAA will be on campus on May 9th and May 10th. They'll be visiting with representatives from the Financial Aid Office, Registrar, Compliance, Faculty Athletic Rep, the Athletic Director, Senior Athletic Staff, Admissions, Head Coaches, and Student Athletes, and as well as the President will be involved in that when they're on campus for those 2 days. We can expect a report by the end of the summer regarding the NCAA Compliance Blueprint. The final items we have is we had MOSO Trivia Night. It was on March 28th. It was a great success. We had approximately 120 people in attendance. Some of them were working, but 120 people were there. I want to thank all the supporters, including the Board of Governors who had a team there, and many of the faculty. Linda was one. There was actually quite a few faculty there. And I'm going to say this: there's some serious brain power in the faculty and the board. So I was very impressed. It was a fun event. They did a great job, and I was really amazed at the amount of knowledge out there that people have.
Are you gonna say anything about the winning team? Looks like they had some diverse backgrounds over there at that table.
They were able to pull it out at the very last second, right? They got you in the last round.
Yeah, I'm still mad.
They told me, they said they were going to buy their way to victory, and I think they did by getting Jim Henry from the Globe to get the question for them.
Well, they told me they didn't care that they won, they just cared that they beat Charlie Nodler.
That is quite a feat.
That's why I said, give me the trophy.
I'll produce another one. So, anyway, it was a great event. The Linebacker annual campaign is underway, so you should be getting those in the mail, or you may be contacted. We'd love to have your support on that, or you can go to our website. I did want to give a special shout out as we work in the athletics world to student athlete and senior quarterback Kellen Cox. He's one of the 3 2013 outstanding graduates, and also he was one of the Glenn Dolans Award winners. And last year he was our outstanding athlete as far as our award, the E.O. and Virginia Humphrey Award. So he is student teaching, and he's got a job lined up with the FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Kansas, the headquarters in Kansas City. So we're excited to hear about that. The final thing I'll lay out there is that we have our Student Athlete Awards Banquet Tuesday, May 7th at 6 p.m. in the BSC Ballroom. Tickets are $10. It's scheduled to last exactly till 7:15. We start at 6, we'll be done at 7:15, including the meal, so we hustle through it. Mostly don't let people talk. We will recognize our seniors. We'll give out team awards, community service awards, male and female athlete of the year, and the E.O. and Virginia Humphrey Awards. So if anybody's interested in coming, please let us know. We'd love to have you there. Last year we had about 340 or so people at the event. So, are there any questions for me?
This is the first year of our expanded conference. Do you expect anything going? Is there any concerns or anything during your MIAA conference meeting that's on the agenda, or
There's nothing specific, nothing particular regarding that. The major issue, something could come up. The major issues, as always, would be regarding officials. We always have deals with officials.
Right.
And expansion has been tabled for at least one more year, but there will be a committee starting to look at what is the actual makeup of our conference. But that will start this summer. So.
And proud to report that during the Linebacker annual campaign, we are going to have 100% participation here from the governors. And even though we didn't compete with Ms. Hand's group, we did come in fourth, so we're not totally here. And
Is that called placing?
we placed
We didn't get a
or
trophy.
something like that.
Top 6 are all American. You're good.
There you go.
How many tables did you have there? Probably 12 or so.
Oh, we had 16.
16.
Great,
Okay.
great evening.
We'll take that.
I just want to say the third place was a faculty team also, just
No,
saying.
Hey, I'm still proud of that for me, to be honest with you. Like, we had 50 seats.
We just talked ourselves
Oh,
out of all
man.
the right answers. So it was good.
So,
We need to
anyway,
work together.
that's all.
It was a good evening. I
Yeah.
thought the spirit and
Should raise
just,
some money.
it was fun.
Yeah.
So I hope you did.
We sure did. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Graffam, VP for Development.
Hit on a few highlights of my written report on 75th anniversary. One of the fun things I think is that, as you may recall, we do the movies of the month, or excuse me, movies through the decades that we've been doing the whole semester that Student Activities has taken on, and they've done a fabulous job. And if you may recall, March was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we had incredible participation both from campus and the community. We had 50 people at the afternoon showing and 100 people that evening, including a lot of community members who brought their little children out to see the movie and were commenting about, I've never seen this facility, this is great, and all those sorts of things. So it was really, it was one of those things that you hope to accomplish, is to bring in people on campus that haven't been here and give them a sense of the university and some things. So it was a fun little thing that was happening. So Spring Spree is set for April 26th and 27th. So that will be a big 2-day event that coincides with the spring picnic for the students. There'll be a number of things happening those 2 days, including autograph signing by alumni and students and faculty who have written books and have signed up to participate with that. That evening is the encore production of the Patsy, so if you didn't get to see it in the first run in February, that's your opportunity to come back and see that play that was the first play that was put on at Missouri Southern. On the following day, on Saturday, we start the day off with a 5K run walk, and again, another great opportunity to bring people on campus that haven't been on campus before, so we'll start the day off with that. There'll be a barbecue and craft show following that, Thomas Hart Benton documentary, and a performance that evening by the Southern Symphonic Chorus. And that performance will be at the First Community Church. So lots of fun things happening there. We'll also, our Diamond Dash that was scheduled for this week for the diamond ring that we generously had donated. Unfortunately, that was the day of the really, really bad weather, so it's had to be moved. So that will be coming up. So with the Alumni Association, we welcome Megan Worth Adams, who is an 08 alum of Missouri Southern. She joins us as our Alumni Relations Coordinator now. As you may recall, Alyssa Bryant moved into fundraising, so we filled her position with Megan. She's got a lot of volunteer and event experience, so we're happy to have her on the team, and we dropped her right into the fire as she helped with an event. We had an alumni event for Northwest Arkansas at Crystal Bridges Museum last weekend, which was a wonderful event. We had about 50 people at that event, and they were able obviously to both mix and mingle with faculty and staff members as well as enjoy the museum. So our next, remember, this is a new initiative we started this year doing some of those regional receptions. Our next one we're slated for is in Tulsa, and we're researching locations for that right now so we can find some, finding that nice location that really attracts people is very helpful. And I know we really appreciate the deans and faculty members that were participated in that event, because it was fun for the alumni to go back and visit with them and talk about their memories here at Missouri Southern. The outstanding graduates that Mr. Bergerman mentioned are listed in your report as well. As he said, Kellen Cox is one of those. We also have Callie Munson, who's a biology pre-med major from Joplin, and Ryan Prysock, who's economics and finance major from Joplin. They're incredible students. And if you look at the very back couple pages of your report, because I thought you might be interested, gives a few paragraphs about each of them and their accomplishments, and they're just amazing. And you can see why the committee finally said, you know what, it's an anniversary year, we're giving 3, not 1, because they're all so deserving and just wonderful students. So, development, this morning we had a great event to help steward and say thank you to our donors. We had a brunch this morning for our scholarship donors and our scholarship recipients to bring them together so they can meet each other. It's a wonderful opportunity for the students to say thank you directly to the donors, and for the donors to to learn a little bit more about the students and put that, they get that thank you letter, but this way they can actually see them and talk to them and ask questions. And so this was an event that we started last year, had a very small one, kind of a pilot project this year, grew it this year, and then have plans to grow it even larger next year. So really pleased with that, and that's an important piece of stewarding our current donors. Want to also thank the Board of Governors for 100% participation in the annual fund. Annual fund is ongoing. We're still working on the staff and business portions of that, as well as follow-up mailings. And special thanks to Dr. LaPira and the faculty, who were just outstanding and had a 50% participation rate. And you guys need to know that normal for a state school, for a public institution, is about 23%. So kudos to the faculty. You guys did a great job. So we're really, really excited about that. And we are currently searching for our advancement services position, which will help for our database, which is tremendously, it's really the backbone of fundraising work. So we're excited about getting that going. We're currently working with the School of Education on some I3 grant applications. There is certainly, as we've watched the schools around here evolve, Joplin in particular starting that, and their technology changes, and how that impacts our teachers. The teachers that we prepare to send out to there. So having lots of conversations with the School of Education on how we can help support that. As Mr. Hughes mentioned, the University Relations and Marketing team moved into their new facilities in the Mansion Annex. I think I've mentioned before, this is their 3rd move in a year, so they're very excited to have a home now to really work out of. And the wall that he was referencing is actually, it's called an infinity wall. One of the pieces that's included in this facility for them, as we all know, visual media is so important in this day and age. And so the photography and the videography is critical. And so this infinity wall will be put into a photo studio so that they can bring people in, do the video and the photography that we can then put on the web. We can put it in accents, we can send it out with press releases, we can do lots of things that way. So it's really going to help evolve marketing efforts. So we're very excited about that and very thankful that Facilities did a wonderful, wonderful job on that. And being able to move into that space, we actually also now have Brian Narens, who's joined us as videographer, which is much needed. As we know, I know Dr. LaPura has been talking with faculty about wanting to put videos on the web and things like that, so wanting to help support everybody and get that quality information out, those testimonials about those wonderful students like Kellen Cox, and get people to know about our success stories. So those are a few of the highlights that we have going on right now. Happy to answer any questions.
Are departments and various people still planning open houses during spring spree?
Our subcommittee, I know Kelly Wilson and Brian Nichols have been working on that particular piece, and I know they were in conversations with a number of departments.
I presume the marketing people will have their offices open so people can.
We are planning an open house, actually, a
Yeah.
separate open house for that, that will to invite everybody over, so thank you for asking.
Any other questions for Ms. Ratham? Okay, then moving right along to Dr. LaPura, Interim VP for Academic Affairs.
Okay, Crystal and I attended the annual conference in Chicago of the North Central Association of Higher Learning Commission, and we went to many sessions, such things as strategies for assessing general ed outcomes, support for student learning, effective shared governance through committee redesign, lots of just comprehensive topics. And really, we're trying to prepare for our next comprehensive evaluation, which is scheduled for 2017 and 18. And while we were there, we participated in some roundtable discussions about the quality initiative and the open pathway. And the open pathway, and I went ahead and provided each one of you with a booklet that details what we're going to be doing for our accreditation efforts. And so it details that process. It's called HLC Pathways for Reaffirmation of Accreditation. So basically, what the goal is of this open pathway is that we, Missouri Southern, get to choose a quality initiative. The idea is that it's going to reduce the burden. The last time we had our visit, very burden, high work, and it's going to reduce the reporting burden, and allowing us to kind of collect data over time, submit data over time. They are doing a enhanced rigor by checking institutional data annually, and so that's kind of the process. Actually, on page 21 is our, they call it a map, but each year what the expectation is for us up until our comprehensive evaluation and visit. And so right now, what we are planning to submit based upon what we're doing on campus currently is our program prioritization process, because that is an all-campus endeavor, and according to the folks at HLC, that's really what we ought to be looking at. And so that's our plan right now, is to kind of use that process and tie that into our quality initiative. So I thought I'd go ahead and give you this because it is our our guidelines for that. The other thing is, and Joanne mentioned it, but I'm going to toot their horn again, the Southern Annual Fund, we kind of set up a competition, and excited about it. 50% of our faculty contributed, and in last year only 7.5 contributed, so it worked. And I want to give kudos to the English department. They donated the most money per faculty member, and they're going to, I owe them a lunch actually at Busana. And a plaque. And then social science, who's cheering for them, took second. And 4 departments actually had 100% participation: dental hygiene, nursing, kinesiology, and then we put EMT, respiratory therapy, radiology all as one team, and they also had 100% participation. But again, I'm just so pleased with the generosity of our faculty, and I really think that it's a reflection of their commitment to Missouri Southern. I think that's important to see. Besides all the commitment they have to our students, they're willing to step up this way. The other thing that we have going on is next Tuesday, we're going to have appreciation for Joplin High School teachers, and we're excited about this. We basically have already brought them goodie bags, all 125 teachers, and lots of Missouri Southern paraphernalia, and then we've invited them to campus. We're going to have round tables, and so one table may say art, and the art teacher from Joplin High School, or however many there are, would sit then at that table with our art faculty or faculty, however many show up, and start having conversation. You know, what are you all doing at your level? What collaboration could we have? Do we have dual credit opportunities? And just, it might be a situation where math actually wants to take them over to their facility, show them their lab, show them their software, whatever it might be. But we think it's going to be good. They're excited, and they're going to be here, by the way, because it's mandatory for them. And I'm not saying they mean us. They is Joplin High School teachers. This is their, every month they have a faculty development, I think that's what they call it. Wendy, you're here. And so this is what they're going to be doing. And Wendy McGrain has helped tremendously. Her and I have kind of partnered up and delivered the goodie bags, and she's on a board over there. Wendy, are you here?
Yeah.
What's the name of that board? Site Council?
I'm on the Joplin High School Site Council.
Yes, and so she kind of spearheaded this, and I'm excited about it. If this goes well, I'd really like to see us do it with Webb City, Carl Junction, Neosho, and just really start building those relationships with their teachers. So we have that coming up. A couple other things that have happened on campus that involved our faculty, and really we asked about how do faculty recruit, what's their role. We had History Day. It was a huge success. Again, Paul Tevereau for 23 years has coordinated that event, and we had students from, you know, all over the area. They had 130 entries, and again, a lot of volunteers in our history department, our faculty, and so forth. Foreign Language Field Day, another big event in April, on April 11th. 1,333 students from 42 high schools on our campus for that event. That's huge. Branson was the overall winner this year. I've got that in there. But again, bringing high school kids to our campus. And then the Missouri Southern Science Fair, Regional Science Fair, was March 26th. Had 20 schools, 156 projects, 171 students, and Dr. Vicki Rutger serves as the director, and then 20 Missouri Southern faculty participate as judges and in other capacities. So I know the question has been asked before, the role of faculty in terms of recruitment, and I think anytime we host these events and our faculty are there present, that's a great way for the high school students to see that. We do have our all-faculty meeting next Thursday at 3 o'clock, and in addition to the exceptional efforts in the classroom, our faculty just continue to present, publish, perform, get recognition, and I'm going to be sharing that again in our second edition of Focus on Faculty newsletter, and that just today said, get it to the printer, let's go. We're going to have it ready for that meeting, and I'm excited. We had some new hires. We have a new assistant professor in biology, Teresa Bowman. Dr. Teresa Bowman will be joining us. Associate professor and department chair for art, Ms. Christine Bentley. Political science assistant professor, Nicholas Nicoletti. Love that name, Nicholas Nicoletti. And assistant professor in kinesiology resignation, Jennifer Lettner, and a resignation from Dr. Jessica Young in physical science. So that's my report. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. I want to ask what else everybody's been doing. It's wonderful. Mr. Fullerton, Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management.
Thank you, Dr. Buchanan. Just to talk about the annual fund, since Pat threw that out there, the staff are still working on that. The groups that had 100% participation, I hate to tell them, but I told the groups that had 100% participation they'd get a pizza party also, so that's a challenge to Pat, I guess, for the other four. What I didn't tell Pat was that she was going to pay for my folks' pizza party.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that, but that is out there. Pat talked a little bit about some of the events that are on campus and how the faculty have been interacting with folks. Some of the things that don't pertain to the academic departments, but that the faculty play huge roles in. Just in the last several days, we've had Columbia Elementary school students here. We've had two different groups from the Arkansas Talent Search Program. Crowder has their English Language Institute students on campus. We've conducted about 64 tours in the last 2.5 weeks on campus, and every time that there's a tour on campus, those students meet with faculty on campus and are actually in the department. So we want to say thank you to those faculty for making time available for those students. No Levitts, I won't bore you with that. We've had a lengthy discussion this morning, but again, just a thank you to the faculty and staff with everything else they have going on. We had 2 full days last week with the retention consultant, 2 full days this week, and so people are extremely busy. Some of the things that are going on, and this is an exciting time of the year, Phi Eta Sigma had their induction ceremony this week, this past week. Phi Eta Sigma is the Freshman Honor Society. Students that have a 3.5 GPA or above during their first year here at Missouri Southern are eligible for that. And I'm proud to say that we had 67 students inducted into that Honor Society. You heard Mr. Brugman talk about the Glenn Dolan Student Leadership Awards, which are awards that recognize our students for leadership and outstanding service to Missouri Southern. It's sponsored by ODK and Student Affairs, and we held that ceremony this week. 30 outstanding students were honored, and it always amazes me. This event, the criteria for this event is service. It's not tied to academics. But when you look at the 30 individuals who rise to the top, they're pretty sharp. They are some of our top students as well, and so it shows that not only are they leaders outside the classroom, but in the classroom as well. The Student Leader of the Year award went to Haley Mullins, a music major who is focusing on piano performance. In staffing issues, we've had a couple of honors. The Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals Network held their annual celebration and honor awards banquet the past couple of weeks. Nicole Brown, Career Services Director, was selected as the Young Professional of the Year. The other award, out of the 2 awards that were given out by the Chamber's Young Professional Unit, Heather Arnold, the Director of Wellness and Aquatics, received the Volunteer of the Year award for volunteering more hours than any other young professional with the Chamber. Also, we were honored because those 2 ladies, Nicole and Heather, and then Sherry Noller, I know I butcher Sherry's name every time, who's with the Small Business and Technology Development Center, are all members of that Young Professionals Executive Board. So Missouri Southern is very well represented with the Chamber and the Young Professionals. Also with representation, Becca Diskin, our Financial Aid Director, was selected as one of 4 COFI representatives. COFI are the college, the public higher education institutions in the state. She is one of the members that will represent that group on the Department of Higher Education's Financial Aid Committee. And so that's a great opportunity for us to have her on that committee. Missouri Southern is also partnering, again, this time of the year, it's definitely on everyone's mind about disaster preparedness. So we're partnering with the American Red Cross to offer a training academy it says Southwest Missouri, and you'll see that on the information, but they're offering that regionally and nationally. So they have some folks coming in from all over the country for this workshop that will be held May 20th to 24th, focusing on disaster preparedness, health and safety, and then responding to disasters. And not only will it be a training workshop, but they will have several folks from the community who, in one form or another, operate in disaster and public service. Keith Stammer with Emergency Services, Angie Bessendorfer with the public schools, talking about what happened here in Joplin and how people can prepare for the disasters that may be coming. Career Services, you have a graduate report in front of you, and so I won't bore you with that, but I think there's some great information, and you'll be able to look at that and see where our graduates are and where they're employed, and I think that's a fabulous report they pulled together because it really gives us a good overall view. Other things, you have a written report in front of you, so I'll keep my report brief and we'll see if you have any questions.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know why I took a deep breath when you finished.
Did for me. I think that was my shortest report.
Yeah, a lot of things there. We will read that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Hand, Faculty Senate President, and before she begins her report, I would like to acknowledge that this is Dr. Hand's last official board meeting. As representative of the Faculty Senate, we hope you will continue to attend. And thank you for
That's likely.
thank you for your service this year.
Thank you. So I'm surprised Pat, here, smack it. I'm surprised she didn't say anything about her enroll now signs, because she says it at every meeting, but there's enroll now signs all over campus. And so I don't know about everybody else, but every one of my advisees must have read them, because I've been advising 100 hours a day, I think. It seems like there's a lot of students really paying attention to those signs. And so we're all busy with that. Also, it's getting close to the end, and suddenly my students have realized that they don't know anything that I've been talking about for 10 weeks. And so I'm pretty busy with that too. So I feel unprepared today because I don't have a nice report written up, and all my people are here. They came to see me, and I just feel all unorganized today. But I did bring a short presentation. It's the survey, some of the surveys. So I have the board up there. So, okay, just not the whole survey, just a few of them. Do I point at you? Oh, there. Okay, so I didn't randomly, I purposely picked some slides out that I wanted to talk about. So I think this one is really important because it shows what faculty here at Missouri Southern think we're doing here, and that's undergraduate education. We have 201 faculty who were sent this survey, 149 responded, which is 1% shy of 75%. And at the Missouri Association of Faculty Senates, other people there said they were happy when they had a 15% response rate, so they were pretty amazed that we could get so many people responding. So not only do we think this, but we think everybody else thinks that's what we do here. Then the next ones are about the international mission, since we were talking about it already. So you can see that we all think that this is what people around here think about us. They think that we're an international, our mission is international, and we focus on that, but not to take away from anything else. We also think that the Institute of International Studies performs effectively, so they're given a job to do, which is to help internationalize the campus in whatever ways they can, and so we think that they do a good job. But we think that there is not enough emphasis being placed on the international mission or the component of the mission, or whatever you want to say, because to us it's really important, and we would like to have more emphasis being placed on it. We've all worked hard. We spent a lot of time in the last 20 years making things international, and I mean, not just we have the international semester or the theme semester, but all our classes have something to, maybe not all of them, but even in the math department we have a class that has an international focus on it. All the posters in the math building are international math around the world. Okay, so it really is important to us. Then, although we complain about a lot of things, we don't complain about administration. We think our department head values the faculty, and that's probably one of the highest things. Almost 60% of us think that our department heads do what they're supposed to be doing. And the other big thing, which is communicate. So there were 6 questions that had to do with them, and they were all high for the department heads. Also the deans. Looks like they went down for a little bit, but then they came back up. We think the deans do what they're supposed to do. They value us. They also communicate with us. Okay, this is most of our favorite one right here, and this is the vice president. There's some change from last year, and we're all very happy with Dr. Lapira, so thank you. Yay, values the faculty. Also communicates effectively, and that's really an important thing to us. That's the other thing I was going to say about not being quite ready. I was making a presentation to go along with her presentation this morning about student learning outcomes. I even have them come videotape in my class, but I've spent this whole week answering email and phone calls about Senate Bill 67, of which I knew nothing, and so it's been sort of a wasted amount of time for me, trying to say, I don't know, let's try and find out. So we're feeling like perhaps the communication breakdown has still not been completely fixed. Okay, and this has to do with the mission also. So do we think we're headed in the right direction? No. And I really think this question is, do we know what direction we're going? And we don't. So we need to be more specific about what it is we want to be doing. What is it we're focusing on? And we have a clear vision for the future, and we don't think that's true either. And so we'd really like to get more direction as to where we're going. And then this is not a very pleasant slide either. This is people are considering leaving, which is 30% of the faculty. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but 30% say they are thinking about it in the next 3 years. I feel like really if we could straighten up the communication and get more focused on what it is we're supposed to be doing as a whole, the big picture, I think maybe that will help a lot with that, and people will feel more grounded and attached to here, not that they're just here for now and will just leave. Because it's happened to all of us who've been here for 10 years or more. You get here, you think, oh, I'm going to be here a year or two, and then I'm going to go get a real job. And then something happens and you get attached and you can't leave. And not in a bad way. You can't leave because you're attached in a way that you don't want to leave. And so that's what we're hoping for to happen again, that people will start feeling that way again. All right, that's all the slides that I want to show. So some of my people asked me to ask you to ask the legislature if there's any way that they could slow down the bill. I know it's already gone through the second reading in the House because we really don't understand it. Even though Dr. Speck has given a report, we still feel unsure about what the purpose of it is and why we need it right now, especially when program prioritization is still going on and that sort of thing. Like she said, there's an all-faculty meeting next Thursday. It would be a perfect time for someone to come and talk about it or get something else in the paper or something, because some people are really very unhappy and very worried. That is the first step of taking apart our international mission, and most of us don't want that to happen. And like you said, this is my last meeting. I'm not really sad about that, but I am disappointed that I couldn't make things better than they are. I hope that the communication problems would be a little bit better fixed than they are, but it's still hard to get information from one group to another, and like from us to you or from you to us, there always seems to be a little breakdown somewhere along the way. So I'm hoping that Joy will enjoy the seat here, and maybe next year we can get things working better than they are now. So that's my report. Do you have any questions?
I've got a comment.
Okay,
I think you've contributed a lot more than you realize.
thank you.
You really have. You've helped some of us, and I can't speak for everybody, you've helped some of us understand things better, especially from a faculty point of view. And I can't speak for the others either, but anytime I can learn something and understand what others are thinking, it helps me out. So I feel that you've been very successful in that regard.
Okay, thank you. It's
Every-
hard, it's
every
hard to
time-
feel that way though.
Yeah, and I was going to say a similar thing. Please don't leave feeling all that discouraged about your accomplishments, because we all recognize we still have a long way to go. And every time we have another huge communication gap, we learn something, I hope, and we move forward. The board can reassure the faculty that there will be ongoing discussion, as I said earlier, about this international mission issue. I noticed that you judiciously left, or politically correctly left off the slide about the boards caring about the faculty.
I do have something to say about that, and what I think is that that's not really a fair question, and that I'm going to suggest that we take those off, because I'm not sure, well, up till today, not that many faculty have been here, and they don't know what I know. I know I filled out that question, and that's not how I answered it. And so I just think those aren't fair questions to you, because I I don't think the people who answer them know how you really feel. So,
Appreciate that feedback. I want the faculty to know, and I think each one of us wants the faculty to know that the reason we volunteer our time and what talents we have and our resources is because we care about this university. And I realize that there are many ways to interpret the word care. How do we show you we care? But we take that feedback, and we've taken it every year, and we want improvements. And I know last year when you presented this information to us, you said one of the tasks the faculty, one of the reasons the Faculty Senate does this survey is so you can work on ways to improve that. Any of the weaknesses you find through the survey. So I certainly hope that Faculty Senate will continue to work on, if that is the sentiment of some people, then spreading that throughout the campus, that we are not the enemies of the faculty.
I
Anybody
make
else
a
wanna say
comment.
anything?
I've got a kind of a favorite saying I can't quote from a guy named Vince Lombardi. And it's something he says, that I believe it. He says, I may not like my coaches and my players, but I have to love them. He's responsible for them. And I feel that when you're a governor, that you're responsible from the president on down. You're responsible for the welfare of the university. And you have to love everybody here, even though you may not like some of the things they do, but you still have to love them. And I want to tell you that I have not found somebody on this campus that works on this campus I couldn't like too. I may not like some of their actions part of the time, but I have not found anybody yet on this campus that I didn't like too.
I'd like to say thank you to Linda too, and I know her and we both did this is our first year, and so I haven't been much help to her in knowing what is it we're doing and what are we supposed to be doing, and so it took us a few meetings to even figure out some of that, and both of us really, I can empathize with what she's saying, because we really sat down the first day and said, let's make a difference, positive difference. And, there's a lot of days that you think, crud, we're not doing much. But I think, when I look back and reflect over the year, I'm going to pull out all the positive things that have happened on the academic side, and there have been a lot. And I know what we remember most are the disappointing things, or the things that we feel like, crud, And so I appreciate Linda, because, and I tell you I'm sorry at the times that maybe I didn't give you the kind of guidance I needed to, because I really was I was new at this too. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with Joy, and I just want to say that, because I know we were both freshmen, so to speak, and I appreciate the ratings I got, and I say, I felt like maybe a coach following one that didn't win, and all I had to do was win a game, and I was pretty good. But I want to win more than one game, I can tell you that. So anyway, that's what I want to say to Linda.
And thank you once again for your service. And welcome to Dr. Dworkin. We'll have you in the seat next month.
We love you, Linda.
my people.
Okay, we'll move to Ms. Arwood, who has a report from the Staff Senate.
Now remember, you promised you wouldn't cry.
No crying.
At our last meeting, Stephen Benfield, the director of campus recreation, was there. He's promoting, and this is a mouthful, the first annual 75th anniversary 5K event. Anybody can say that 3 times fast? You've got my encouragement. He'd like everybody to take part. He stressed that walkers as well as runners are welcome. My son, a friend, and I actually went and walked the route just to see how long it would take. He said it could be done in less than an hour. He was right. We did it in 45 minutes. And on a side note, you were mentioning the signs. That's one thing my son said, Mom, there are signs everywhere. What is FAFSA? What is this? What is this? And so just someone that hasn't been on campus as a high schooler, what are all these signs? So somebody's seeing them, so I thought I'd throw that in there. Our Legislative Oversight Committee has spent a lot of time this past year reviewing our bylaws, looking at the structure, looking at the format. We need that as a strong, accurate foundation for the Senate. They brought some revisions to the table at our last meeting. We're going to vote on those at our next one. At this point, it's not procedural, it's just structure. It's just laying down that foundation. We have the award winners for the Southern Service Champ Award for the first quarter of 2013. We can't disclose who they are yet because they don't know who they are yet, so we don't want to do that prematurely. I believe checks are coming from the foundation.
Signed them today.
Okay, and once those are distributed, that will be announced through the campus channels. We have elections for new Senate positions will be taking place in May. Our shift actually occurs between the June and July transition. Alicia Hughes, who is currently the bursar, will become president in July. I didn't know if she would show up today. I haven't seen her yet. I don't have my glasses. But I was going to introduce her, but she'll be taking over here in a couple months. We'd like to encourage staff to be nominated, get involved. You learn a lot. I mean, I'm sure Linda can attest to it. There are things that happen that you don't realize happen. My experience is that President's Council has been very open. They've been very honest in their discussions. We've disagreed, we've agreed, we've butted heads, we've come together. But that's part of the learning process, and we appreciate the fact that they do take their time for us and that we do feel like we're heard. And next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 8th at 9 a.m. in this very room. That is my report.
Questions or comments for Michelle? Thank you.
Thank you.
Student representative, Mr. Haas.
Well, I'd like to apologize. I wasn't here last meeting. I was representing Missouri Southern at a mock trial competition at which one of our students, Jessica Andrews, a senior political science major, won an award for outstanding attorney. So kind of bragging on my peers there. As far as my report goes, April 6th, I went to a meeting of fellow student representatives to their respective boards of governors from across the state. We met all day on Saturday and talked about different problems that our schools were having and how different schools do things differently. We shared a lot of ideas, made contacts, that kind of thing, just to keep together and keep in contact, that kind of thing. Student Senate elections are going on right now, as a matter of fact. On your way in, I'm sure you saw some of the executive candidates campaigning out, handing out cookies and pizza and that kind of thing, trying to get votes. Next Thursday and Friday will be elections for regular Senate seats. Similar to the staff Senate, the Student Senate is working on our internal affairs, if you will. We have a bylaws proposal that we're going to discuss next Wednesday and hopefully approve. The mural bill that I discussed in February did pass. We are starting the art major, Jordan Murdoch, who is leading that project, has started interviewing students and faculty and trying to figure out what kind of feel we want the mural to have. And so we will be moving forward with that. And then finally, I'd like to introduce Joshua Boley, who's sitting in the back in the corner over there. He is the new editor-in-chief of The Chart. We've had a staffing change at The Chart. And so on behalf of the students, I'd like to welcome Joshua, or congratulate Joshua, I suppose, as his new role. For the Board of Governors Student Representative meeting, I've attached the minutes of that meeting if you guys were interested to look over some of the things that we discussed. And with that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
I think it's interesting to look over these minutes because you can see what other schools are doing. I see Southeast Missouri State's going to a third-party vendor for bookstore operations. So that's an interesting move that might be, anxious to see how that works for them.
Yeah, we have another meeting scheduled, I believe, in September that will, I can ask about that and we'll see how they've progressed on these initiatives that we've talked about.
Did Missouri Western adopt a tobacco-free campus?
I think it was Missouri Western. One of the schools did recently.
C is Missouri Western, but I didn't know if they passed it or if they're just in the. Because they called us, remember, and asked us how ours was going.
Yeah.
We don't have one.
I think we talked about it. I think they are still working on it. I think Missouri State in Springfield has adopted that, and they talked about how their policy was going.
And Northwest has.
And I think it'd be, we need to look at what others are doing because we can learn from them, what worked, what didn't work, what problems did you have.
Thank you for attending that, because I agree, that's where we can bring some new ideas back to campus. So thank you for doing that. Since commencement, the end of the term will happen before our next board meeting, I'd like you to convey back to your Senate our thanks for their service and their just continuing impressive young professionalism. So, thank you. And their monetary support, Dr. Speck reminds me, they come through with some pretty good projects there too. So please relay that back to them from us. Okay, board committee reports. We'll start with budget audit. Mr. Henderson.
We met Monday the 15th, and we had some pretty interesting preliminary figures to go over about the budget. I would like to say it's good news, but it definitely is not. Some very ardent times with the incoming finances. But we'll continue to monitor that, and in May and June, and in June we should have some finalization of what the budget is going to look like when the legislature gets through with it. We did have one housekeeping chore that we needed to attend to, and it has to do with tuition. The state revised their average tuition, which is a composite figure that allows us a certain level to increase our tuition at the CPI rate. And the increase of that, the revised figures amounted to roughly around $40-some-odd, which resulted in a 2-cent increase in tuition per hour that we have the opportunity to establish. We felt that we've already set it. Instead of setting out $173.20, so the increase would be 2 cents on top of that. But we're not going to increase the next year tuition at that. But what we need to do is revise our base, because then that's established the base for oncoming years. But it will not affect anything that happens next year. And for out-of-state students, it was which was $346.40, which would be a 2-cent increase there too. With that, and Rob, have I got that right?
No.
Okay.
Nice try.
Legislature, we are not going to adjust the out-of-state rate, just the in-state rate.
Because of the line price.
Yeah, well, we'll adjust that later. Our main purpose is to look at the in-state rate, and that's what we have to report to CBHE.
It's just the in-state rate. Okay.
So we're recommending that you increase the tuition rate by 2 cents, but we're not charging it to the students.
Which is what we did, that we enacted at the committee level.
That's the start of the solution to all of our financial woes is this 2 cents.
2 cents.
Well, we did this some years back. It was a fairly substantial difference when we had to reset the base, and it did benefit the school a year later down the road. And so you figured this is going to probably be $3,000 some odd dollars.
Less than $3,000 if we were to charge the students. So we said we're not charging the students extra, but we're going to go ahead and put it on the books that this is our new tuition rate, so that the following year in 15, that would be your starting point.
To make a short story longer, no, the committee unanimously recommended the board approval of this action, where it will not change, but put it at the base of 2 cents. And make that as
That's a motion. Mr. Anderson has moved that we book the additional 2 cents per credit hour tuition increase, but not charge it to next year's students, since we'd already announced another figure.
I'll second that.
Mr. Ewing has seconded the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Anything else from your?
No, I think that
Okay, thank you. And probably there will be another budget audit committee here in May.
sometime in May.
Before the May meeting.
And I want to reemphasize, those are open meetings for anyone on campus to come and participate, be informed. Academic Affairs Committee has met since our last meeting. Mr. Ewing, Mr. Walter? Mr. Walter. He's deferring to you.
I thought we had a very good meeting this morning. We had 2 presentations. One was by Jim Anderson from Noel Levitt's talking about their program to help us understand. And the other was by Dr. Lapira. And she gave us out a book with a homework assignment to help us learn. It says here, student learning outcomes, assessment structure. For those, it gets us started before we even open up the book. So to me, I thought it was a very valuable tool. And I'll say again, we appreciate it because we're not here full time, but we want to do the best we can for this university. And the more we learn about it, the better we are. So if we can understand things like this, which are very important, it will help us out. So we appreciate it. And at least I will try to do my homework.
Fill in all those charts.
That's
Okay, thank you.
Lynn?
Well, I wanted to thank Dr. Lapira for the ongoing discussion about what is the faculty doing to assure that what they're doing is leading to better learning outcomes. It's been an ongoing discussion. And as Dr. Lapira pointed out at several meetings, well, we're doing that. And our response was, well, can you explain to us what it is you're doing to evaluate and assess your outcomes and your programs? And so now we have it. So thank you very much. I am thrilled to have the follow-up.
Thank you.
And we had asked Dr. Lapira to focus for us this month on the board's responsibilities in academic affairs. But, what are the things that we need to be monitoring, asking questions about, and expecting of faculty and academic affairs personnel on campus. So I thought that was clarified some things. And one of the things she said toward the end is that when we ask questions, which is our job, we should be appreciated. That's not doing it to criticize faculty or criticize academic programming, but to show that we have a fiduciary responsibility in that arena. So I think that meeting was good in clarifying some of those things. And I'd also like to say on the Noah Lovitz project, we have followed that with considerable interest throughout the year. At least 80 people on this campus, if probably more if we sat down and counted all the bodies, have participated in those committees and the hard work that it has taken to gather the data and analyze the data and make the suggestions to contribute to that project. And I want to thank everybody over and over again for that. At the very same time that they've also been participating in the prioritization study. So it has been a tremendous amount of manpower, but what I was hearing was that there's an enthusiasm that it's excuse me, a project that is paying off. So that was good to hear.
Madam Chair, our expectation is, Dr. Hand, that these processes will get you some sort of sense of direction and resolve those issues that you put up on the screen. it's a work in progress, but it's about to bear some real fruit. And I'll say, as I often do, when you're talking about mission, when you're talking about program prioritization, it's your institution. I mean, we ask questions about what are you doing to make sure what you're doing is working, but ultimately it's for the university to decide what it is you want to do, what you want your mission to be. But when we ask the questions, as the chairman pointed out, we're not being critical. We have a fiduciary responsibility to understand what process you have in place to be sure that these kinds of things are being addressed. And let me just say one thing while I'm talking to you. One of the things that was discussed this morning in the committee meeting was that recruitment is everybody's job, faculty, staff, administration, and everybody. But I think a large part of that recruitment is also retention, and so much of that retention rests on those who are advising and teaching and advising and trying to steer a student on a path to completion of a degree, which is what we all want. So kudos to the faculty for not only participating and trying to figure out where we're going and how we're going, but keeping the students involved to go along with us.
Any other comments on that? Okay. Thank you, guys. The Personnel Committee has also met since the March meeting. That meeting was to start the annual evaluation process for Dr. Speck. We reviewed status to date on some issues to try to determine the process we wanted to use and what else we needed to find out. We are continuing that process, right now gathering information from various constituents, and doing surveys and considering surveys, and we have direct report interviews scheduled for May 3rd, and so a number of things in process, including we will be meeting with him in executive session following this meeting to continue that process. Were there any other committee meetings? I think not. Okay. Then Dr. Speck, we will move to your report, please.
I received a telephone call from Dr. Hahn at KCUMB to update me on the progress KCUMB is making regarding the decision to establish a branch campus in Joplin. In short, KCUMB is still in the process of conducting due diligence, and Dr. Hahn estimated that within another month, KCUMB would be closer to making a decision and he would get back with me. The Faculty Senate Exec Committee has requested that any action on the program prioritization report be deferred until the Senate has an opportunity to meet in September and consider the report. I have instructed Crystal Lemons to amend the program prioritization calendar to accommodate this request. I will be giving recommendations regarding program prioritization in October, so the Faculty Senate will need to provide me with whatever observations they make about the report by the end of September. Senator Pierce has introduced legislation that proposes a funding formula for all of public higher education. As a member of COFE, I join with all the other public university presidents to voice opposition to that legislation. Today, Paul Wagner, the executive director of COFE, will deliver a letter to Senator Pierce outlining COFE's concerns with the proposed formula. COFE is about a step away from providing a funding formula that all 13 public universities can agree to. And we are encouraging legislators to give us the opportunity to submit a formula that would be agreeable to public higher education. On a sad note, Dr. Charles McGinty's wife, Jennifer, died last week after a long battle with cancer. I went to the visitation representing MSSU, and the length of the lines for those waiting to offer condolences suggests that the McGintys have had a significant influence on the Joplin community. I join with the board in offering condolences for Jennifer's passing and in reaffirming our appreciation for Dr. McGinty's many years of service as a member of the Board of Governors. I was asked by the governor's office to attend a press conference in Carthage in which the governor would make the case for healthcare reform. During that press conference, he emphasized the economic consequences of not adding 300,000 Missourians to Medicaid expansion. At one point, he pointed to me and said, I understood the budget implications for not passing healthcare reform. I do. The governor's budget was built on the predication that healthcare reform would pass. If it does not, the appropriations the governor recommended are at risk, unless the legislature presents a balanced budget to the governor that recommends the governor's funding levels for fiscal year 2014. Crowder College, our sister institution, celebrated its 50-year anniversary this month. And along with members of the President's Council, I participated in the celebration ceremony. We wish Crowder well, and will continue to work with them as a partner as we provide education for students. By the way, of the students who transfer to Southern, Crowder students are the largest percentage of those students. Annually, the governor honors a teacher from each institution of public higher education, and this year Terry Marion from the College of Business was honored at a ceremony in Columbia as the outstanding teacher from Southern. On a personal note, I have heard any number of Terry's former students who now work in Joplin say how much they appreciated his mentoring as a professor. Finally, I'm very grateful to announce that the project regarding policies and procedures in an electronic format for the campus is at a stage of near completion. Many people have been engaged in this project, and I especially thank Al Stadler and Joyce Courtney for their essential labor. In addition, this semester I hired Caroline Smith, one of our excellent students, to help bring closure to this project, to this important initiative. According to Caroline, every manager on campus has been contacted, and each manager has either confirmed that his or her unit has already submitted all known policies for his or her group, or has taken a last opportunity to submit policies. Caroline is now engaged in a gap analysis so that we can determine what policies we need but do not have. She has confirmed that we are close to identifying all those policies so that we can add them to our corpus of policies. In short, I can report that for all practical purposes, we have completed the task of building an electronic database of policies and procedures. Certainly, we will need to periodically review that body of information, and we have in place a system to do so. Hurrah! A major initiative has come to a successful close. That concludes my report, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. Yes, that policies and procedures initiative has been on the table, I think, ever since I've been on the board, so I'm glad that it's drawing to a conclusion. Is there any old business? Okay, if not, we'll move on to new business. Dr. Speck, the board needs to affirm a NCAA compliance statement.
Yes, I believe you have a copy of that. We'll read it. This statement reaffirms that a critical component of the athletics department's and Southern's mission is to incorporate the NCAA's principles of sportsmanship and ethical conduct into the comprehensive mission of Missouri Southern State University. As a result, I fully endorse the task of the MSSU Athletics Compliance Office to coordinate, monitor, and verify rules compliance with all NCAA, MIAA, and university requirements. A major component of the MSSU Athletics Compliance Office is to educate athletics department staff members, coaches, student athletes, friends of the program, and the institution as a whole on NCAA rules, including NCAA amateurism through a variety of means. As a member of the NCAA, Missouri Southern State University is committed to the principle of institutional control in a manner consistent with the rules and regulations of the NCAA and the MIAA. I request that this statement be approved by the board.
So
Mr. Anderson has moved that we approve this statement as read.
Second.
Mr. Fleischaker has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the affirmation, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Dr. LaPura, you have presented some academic policy proposals for action.
Yes, you should have those in front of you, and they've been through academic policies and faculty senate. A good number of them are, obviously we had to add classes for our new gold program and paramedics, and they've all been approved at the appropriate levels.
Can I ask just one question?
Yes.
And maybe it's in there, but what's CNC stand for? Look on the, well, even on the first page, it's CNC Operator Certificate. CNC.
Dr. It's a manufacturing.
Manufacturing certification.
What is it?
Manufacturing certification.
A manufacturing certification, okay,
Out of our manufacturing engineering.
okay.
That doesn't tell you what it stands for, but.
No, sometimes I think we ought to have books on acronyms.
It's a computer acronym.
Acronyms.
Yeah, it's better computer driven.
It's dangerous if I make something up.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, I would have got. Were there any other questions of Dr. Wolfira? Okay, so these have moved through all the appropriate channels and be brought to the board for final approval.
I move that we approve.
Mr. Walters moved that they be approved as presented. Mr. Ewing is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That was 143 pages of something that she sent out to us. So there's obviously a lot of work that went into that also. So thanks to everybody for those updates. Okay, are there any other items of new business?
Just the board responsibilities, academic affairs, which I've already addressed in our meeting, but I do want to say that, when I first saw that on the agenda, I panicked a little because I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I appreciate it. And Sherry gave me the book on how boards can ensure academic quality and making the grade. And it's a great book, and it's written by a board member at Truman State, or a former board member, and so it did make me realize every page of the way Richard Walters' name was in there, no, seriously, every time you've asked about student learning outcomes, I recognize that we've not done a good job of sharing with you our structure and our templates and that kind of thing. So anyway, it was good for me too to have to go back and educate, so.
It just illustrates that, to me, more than anything else, we want to make sure our students are successful in this world. And so we want to get them as well prepared as we can.
I think what happens is we know we're doing it and we just get caught up in the process, but to stop and educate someone as what are you doing and how frequently are you doing it, and we don't do that, we just do it. So anyway.
You know it, our job is to say, how do you know it?
Yeah.
And again, that's not an adversarial position, it's a responsible position for us to take. So thank you for doing all that. I know it's been
That took some work to put that together.
Yes.
And I suspect you had some help. We were helping with Dr. Bear. We thank you for, if you do that all yourself, fantastic. But I'm sure you get a little bit of help too, probably. So thank you, whoever did that too. Did you do it?
It's all right.
Okay. Anyway, looking forward to it.
very good. And we will pass that book around to other board members, because it is a very thorough review of what things we need to be keeping our thumbs on and our questions about.
Are you not going to buy me a personal copy?
I am not, perhaps.
Yes, I will buy each of you a personal copy. Sharon, would you please make a note?
It is a good little book. Pat agreed.
We're AGB members, so we get a little discount on that.
Yes. Okay, any other items of new business? Okay, commencement is coming May 11th. We will have 2 ceremonies, and at the end of at the second ceremony, we are inviting all former members of the Board of Governors, former presidents, former treasurers, secretaries for the board, everybody who's helped out, who's still around to come to have special recognition at commencement for their services, and then we'll have a reception afterwards. And this is part of our 75th anniversary celebration, and thank you to governors, administrators, and staff. Next meeting will be scheduled differently, since by then the campus will be closed on Fridays, so our next meeting will be on Thursday, late afternoon, May 16th at 4 p.m. By that time, we should have a budget to adopt, at least based on preliminary figures. And promotions will be presented to the board for approval at that time. Various other items of business, I'm sure, and then we will meet again in June, and again, the adapted Thursday afternoon schedule for June 20th. With that said, I need a motion to move us into executive session per revised statute Missouri 610.021 subsection 1. Do I need to read all of it? Relating to legal actions. Just the
one,
numbers?
1, 2, and 3.
Okay, subsections 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Anderson has moved that we go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Walter has seconded, and we need a roll call vote to move to executive session.
Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Sherry Buchanan,
Yes.
Lynn Ewing,
Yes.
Jeff Fleischaker,
Yes.
Richard Moore.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, what room? 342? 343.
I want my own copy of that book so Richard can sign it.